For you, it will be an unseasonably mild day, but mostly cloudy and with brisk southerly winds. That's it. I'm back in half an hour. Bye-bye for now.
Good morning, you're watching Breakfast. You're with Charlie State and Naga and Charlie.
Time now is 6:31. We'll bring you all the latest news and sport in just a moment. Also coming up on Breakfast this morning, broadcaster Fearne will be telling us to chat about joining us to talk about her new album, Happy Place. And most importantly of all, at these difficult times, the importance of self-care during difficult times.
Former NFL player Jason Bell and his Strictly partner Luba are joining us ahead of performing the salsa this weekend.
Halloween House of Horrors, we're celebrating your decorations, finding out what you have planned for the weekend.
Good morning. Here's a summary of today's main stories from BBC News. The numb in the surgery. Take care.
6:36 time now. Holly's got the sport for us. So we're talking a lot about rules and regulations at the moment. Those two apply, of course, to sports stars. And rugby has had a particular problem.
Exactly. We're talking about Barbarians players, of course, who broke those COVID rules on 2 successive nights. So Eddie Jones isn't a happy man either. He's across a lot of the back pages today talking about this. He says it's ruined the reputation of the sport in England. This is after 13 of those players were officially charged last night for breaking those coronavirus protocols. Now, it forced the cancellation of their match against England last Sunday. Well, this is what we should be talking about, the Six Nations, which concludes tomorrow. Now, Wales can't actually win the tournament, but it will be a landmark day for this man, their captain, Alan Wynne-Jones. Ireland currently top the table. They're the only side whose fate rests entirely in their own hands, with a bonus point win over France enough to win the entire tournament. Now, tributes have been pouring in for the former Wales winger JJ Williams following.
Excellent player, without question, one of the best, if not the best, wingers, you know, especially with speed in mind. And
Grand post last night. Bad performances deserve bad results. Hope everyone in this bus is as upset as I am. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. training. Rather you than me. It was a better evening for the busy weekend ahead, but before I go, I must say happy birthday to Diego Maradona.
We said
60 today.
Yeah, we said with the papers earlier on. We thought he was a bit older.
Oh dear, I'll not tell him you said that.
When you sing happy birthday down the phone to him.
Yeah, later on. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. You and I both FaceTime.
I do that. I'd sing happy birthday to anyone whose birthday is.
Just don't tell me he looks older than 60.
I didn't say he looked older than 60. I said we, and I'm dragging Charlie into my crime with this.
I'll get you a shovel.
Thank you.
Let's see, time now is 6:41. We're going to focus.
They just don't feel it's safe.
Indeed. OK, Fearne, thank you. I am fascinated by how still all those people are.
They're very good. Very impressive.
Yeah.
Staying safe is a very important message around anything you're doing to do with Halloween.
You can tweet us, of course, and we'll feature some on the programme soon.
Time now to get the news, travel and the weather where you are. Restrictions by next week. Nottinghamshire moves into Tier 3 and West Yorkshire prepares to do the same.
The leader of one of Britain's biggest unions warns the Labour Party is risking chaos after suspending Jeremy Corbyn.
Good morning. Eddie Jones urges England players to revive the sport's reputation during this weekend's Six Nations after 13 Barbarians players are charged for breaching COVID rules. Jones says it's made them a laughingstock.
There's a bit more and a bit brighter weather developing today across the northern half of the country, but get ready for some wild and windy weather this weekend. I'll have the details. You're in charge. Lots of rain around, and we'll see widespread gales, if not severe gales, in the west. I'll have more details on that before 7:15. Back to you
Matt,
both.
thank you very much. We'll see you later on.
7:10 is the time. Good morning. When he took over as Labour leader in April, Sir Kier Starmer pledged to make tackling anti-Semitism his first priority.
For that press conference, and what I needed to say on behalf of the Labour Party in response, which was to accept the findings, apologise and restore trust with the Jewish communities. Jeremy issued his statement, I think, sometime after about 10:30. In my responses to questions, I said I'd look in detail at what he'd said and anything else he'd said, because he went on to say other things later in the morning. The decision was one for the General Secretary that he took at about, I think it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The Shadow Cabinet, I served as the Shadow Brexit Secretary, and in that role I had responsibility within the Shadow Cabinet, and that's why I took the opportunity in the Shadow Cabinet and actually outside the Shadow Cabinet in the media to challenge some of the decisions on anti-Semitism and to push the party further on things like rule changes and the definition we should adopt. So I spoke out in that role. I was within the Shadow Cabinet, not the Leader's office, but within the Shadow Cabinet you have responsibility. I accept that. And we all have to accept the findings yesterday and apologise for them, recognise the hurt that they have caused, and be absolutely determined, as I am, to implement the recommendations as quickly as possible.
Can I put to you once again?
Ideal opportunity to have a 2 or 3 week circuit break to bring the infection rate right down and to do it while schools would be closed for a week because of half term. The Prime Minister didn't choose that course, and my concern is that the tier system is not strong enough to stop the infection rate going up, and the alternative now is weeks or months of agony, frankly, in the tier system. So I do call on the Prime Minister to look again. If we've learnt one thing from phase 1, wave 1 of the virus, it's that you need to act quickly and decisively. The circuit break I was calling for was over the half-term period, and that was the expert advice that if you're going to do it early.
Can I just ask you, Keir Starmer, I'm mindful of the time, just on one thought on that, the government's position...
So we can see where this is heading. I absolutely understand the argument, I understand people's concerns, but in the long run, simply by delaying and being too slow, we will end up with a situation, I think, where those in tier 1 gradually get into tier 2, those in tier 3 go up to those in tier 2 go up to tier 3, because what is clear to me is that the measures in place are not doing enough to control the virus, and that will lead to health implications. It will lead to the possibility of the NHS being overwhelmed, and in the end it's really damaging for the economy, because if you go into tier 2, tier 3 for weeks or months, the impact on the economy is far greater than a 2 to 3 week circuit break over the half-term break would have been. So it doesn't stack up on the health front, on protecting the NHS, or actually on the economy either.
So Keir Starmer, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
That's Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party.
It is just coming up to 8:30. Good morning to you. Find out what's happening wherever you are in terms of news, travel and weather, and we'll see you shortly. View.
Well, the reason Patrick and Chris Whitty have made those points is because we need to break the cycle. And the way we break the cycle is by learning the lessons. We've learned a huge amount since the first lockdown. We learned from the international practice. It doesn't, in one sense, it's an advantage that we can see what's happening elsewhere and learn the lessons. And the big lesson is that, and all those countries, but Germany and France that you mentioned, have looked at and tried and sought to deal with the challenges that they face through targeted, localised measures. That shows you, I think, it's the right approach. What we need to do is make them as effective as possible. And we you know, obviously Nottinghamshire, Warrington, some of the other areas you mentioned, it's very difficult for the people there, it's for the businesses, but we appreciate all of the cooperation, the collaboration that we've had with local political leaders. By and large, that's been pretty good. We're providing the financial support. It's really important that as we take those measures, localised, as robust as we can, with the support that we're providing, that we also get people following them. That's the way we break the cycle I mentioned. We avoid the blanket national lockdown, which would be very damaging for the economy.
When lockdown was first in place, one of the...
More on our website at the usual address. Now we'll pass you back to Naga and Charlie. Bye-bye for now.
Good morning, welcome to Breakfast. You're with Charlie State and Naga Manchetti.
Nottinghamshire has become the latest area in England to move into
very high alert level. Also, let's talk to the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, who joins us now. Good morning, Dominic Raab. Thank you very much for your time with us today. Talking about Nottinghamshire, moving into Tier 3 on, and West Yorkshire going in on Monday morning.
I don't think that is right, but what we're guided by is the rate of the virus. We've seen some evidence since we started putting in place this tiered approach that the rate of increase has slowed, but clearly there is still an increase in the virus across the country. Scientific point of view, but also I think in areas where the virus is not picking up, I think people would feel it was not only counterproductive or ineffective, but desperately unfair for measures to be imposed across the board. We're focused on the areas where the virus needs to be tackled the greatest.
I know you commented yesterday, but I'd like to give you the opportunity to comment on the awful attack that we saw. 3 people were killed in Nice in France.
With the French people and the French government, there is never any excuse, any justification, for this kind of brutal, despicable terrorist attack.
Anti-Semitism in the Labour Party and the suspension of the Labour leader, former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. Michael Gove, your colleague, has questioned Keir Starmer's leadership after results of that report. Do you think
Keir's taken? Of course, there's only ever been 2 political parties in the history of this country investigated by the Equality and Human Rights Commission. And I think it is fair to ask Keir Starmer why he's taken this action now, when it was less than a year ago that he was asking the British people and calling on them to make Jeremy Corbyn Prime Minister. It feels like this isn't a point of principle that he's acted on, but it's a question of political expediency. But these are all...
The Muslim Council of Britain in March this year has asked for an independent inquiry into ACTA. Isn't it time that you turn the focus onto your own party?
Well, we have, and we've got zero tolerance, and we've instituted a review. And of course, the Equality and Human Rights Commission decided not to investigate the Conservative Party. The reason is we stand up for our values no matter what. That
review was announced in December, I believe. When are we going to get the results of that? It's been nearly a year.
Rigorously, we're approaching it. I don't have a finite deadline in mind. That's
is it not
something
important
that,
to have
the
a
chairman
deadline?
Of the party. Sorry, I didn't.
Is it not important
to have a deadline? I think it's important to get these things right and to have zero tolerance rather than necessarily to work to an artificial deadline. But what I can say to you, Naga, is that, look, there is zero tolerance for any racism of any sort.
Dominic Raab, thank you very much for your time with this Foreign Secretary joining us on Breakfast.
Let's see, the time now is 7:42.
Thanks, Matt. We'll see you later. Very good. Very impressive.
7:51 is the time now. 1 million people have signed footballer Marcus Rashford's petition to extend free school meal vouchers for children in England during the holidays.
The government says it's in the process of examining how holiday clubs could be used to provide additional support. Our education correspondent Elaine Dunkley has been to Stockport and has met those who regularly use the clubs to see how they make a difference.
This holiday club in Stockport is about enjoying the simple things.
There you go. What would you like, Kier?
It's very important because, people can't afford food as much as others, and it's just really helpful for people in the school holidays.
This food has been provided by a local cafe for free.
It's got cheese.
Stockport Council has provided free school meal vouchers for those who are eligible, but this pandemic has put pressure on many families.
One thing that the Holiday Club does do is we don't have any eligibility here, so if somebody isn't on benefits, they can still come here.
This week, the Our Time project has supported 160 families. Many are asking for help for the first time.
So those are families there that they've been out, they've worked hard, they've got themselves to the position that they're in.
And we've got to get used to it. And people are, and that's why these activities are helping families out.
Footballer Marcus Rashford has been at the forefront of a campaign to end food poverty. More than 1 million people have signed his petition, calling for children from poorer families in England to get free meals in school holidays. The government has ruled out extending free school meals across England beyond term time, but says councils have been given an additional £63 million for families facing financial hardship, and welfare support has increased by £9.3 billion.
At first you think it won't affect us, we'll be okay, we'll be fine, and then before you know it, companies are closing down. Tough, you feel massively embarrassed. You don't want to be that one that's asking for help, but overall, I think there's nothing to be ashamed about. If you are genuinely a working family and you have worked your backsides off day in, day out, please don't be embarrassed. Ask for help. That makes you that better parent.
Half term is nearly over for most children. Many children have relied on holiday clubs or packed lunches donated by charities, businesses and some local councils. But the Christmas holiday isn't far away, and neither is anxiety for families struggling to put food on the table. Elaine Dunkley, BBC News.
It's amazing to see what communities, individuals are just doing right now. 7:55 is the time.
I was in the locker room my entire career.
Well, it's lovely to see you both this morning. Thank you so much. Are you back? So when does training? What is it? 8 o'clock now. What time's training start, Luba?
Well, we will probably start about in 20 minutes. We'll have some stretch and just go for it, you know.
Good. You work hard. I'm sure you will. Nice to see you this morning. Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's a big smile, isn't it?
Big wave.
Big smile.
Headlines are coming up. See you soon.
Join us tonight for the US presidential election on the BBC News Channel.